Yes, in 1963, I introduced a bill to change the dates of the election back to the summer. I thought I was going to pass it, but it failed. I think it was good legislation then. It's good legislation now for a number of reasons, and I'm real pleased to note that at least two legislators are planning to introduce bills in the impending session to change either to late summer or early fall. And that will be good for a number of reasons. As the situation now exists, a candidate announces for office in January. He has the primary in May, in June, the general election in November, and conceivably one can campaign for 11 months. Public interest can't be sustained over that period of time, and the expenses of it's prohibitive.
Why was it originally changed back to May?
It was changed in 1959 to accommodate the then distinguished leader of the United States Senate, Senator Lyndon Johnson, who was running for the Democratic presidential nomination, or was planning to do so in 1960. And it was thought that he would have a better chance for the nomination if all the primaries were out of the way by the time he went to the national convention in July in Los Angeles.
Now, lest you be mistaken, remember there are maps and there are maps. This map shows land use inside the airport. The new $20,000 map should show safe building altitudes for as much as 10 miles around the airport when it's finished. $20,000 may seem a bit steep for a map, but airport planner Jack Downey says such maps are not uncommon.
No, this is a very common thing. As a matter of fact, all airports of any size at all have these types of maps. As a matter of fact, Love Field has one, Meacham has one, GSIA has one. It's just a matter of preparing the map for our work in aiding the cities roundabout and the governmental entities in this area in stipulating safe heights for their buildings.
Do you know, Jack, if there are any existing structures now that are going to be affected by this map?
No, I don't know. Well, I do know. I shouldn't say that. There are no existing structures, to my knowledge, that will be affected by this map. As a matter of fact, I have a very little feeling of concern that it will even limit the desired structure construction. All it does is just assure us that we don't have problems.
The new map will also answer many of the questions already asked by cities near the airport. Downey says the map should be ready about the end of this year. This is Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move in Arlington.
No, I don't think so. England, the defending champion, won their first game 1-0 over, I believe, Romania. And probably a few people were surprised by the Mexico-Russia result, a nothing tie, but it's going on form, I think.
Brazil, of course, is one of the strong favorites this year in the Mexican competition. They had to come from behind, but they won their game 4-1 the other night, and of course Pele put on quite a performance, which makes the England-Brazil match a real attraction for this Sunday.
Yes, right. As you know, we're going to have England-Brazil at the Bronco Bowl Playhouse Sunday at 1 p.m., and this is one of the most anticipated sports events around the world. This game has been scheduled for some months, and it ought to really be a great game with the defending champion England playing against Brazil with the most famous player in the world, Pele.
I know that you have followed soccer around the world. Have you ever had an opportunity to watch him play?
I've never seen Pele in person. I have seen him on television, and he is some marvelous athlete. I think he's only about 5'9", but when he controls that ball, it's like it's on a string on his foot. He moves that ball around, you think it's on a rubber yo-yo.
The main reason I was against the petition is the fact that there was arbitrarily an amount of land that went with the children to the Irving School District, and this arbitrary amount of land that was going with the children was not in agreement with Grand Prairie. And I feel that there ought to be an amicable agreement between the two school districts before we arbitrarily say that this amount of land should go with the children.
You think you'll be able to do that?
Well, I haven't been able to up to this point, but I feel like that most school superintendents and both boards
have the interests of the children at heart in some way or another, that something may be worked out that would be acceptable to both school districts.
The parents are very concerned. They want their children to go to that school across the street. Do you think that those children will ever be able to go to that school across the street?
I feel like someday that this problem will be resolved.
Obviously, he approves of the overall goals of this project. He participated in it. He was, for a time before his appointment as Chief Justice, the chairman of the special committee that headed up the project. But doubtless there are provisions contained within some of these standards which may raise constitutional questions. Those questions the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court will have to judge as they arise, and certainly he has not prejudged any of these matters.
President Nixon obviously felt that Chief Justice Burger was a conservative when he appointed him to the Supreme Court. Since he was instrumental in the formulation of these standards, do you feel they are maybe conservative or law and order in their wording?
I don't know whether the word conservative is an apt description. I pointed out at the very beginning that the standards attempt to achieve a degree of balance between the rights of the public and the rights of the individual, which must be protected. I think that the balance has been rather more on the defendant's side in recent years. If I were to make a guess, I would say that the balance will still be there, but that it may move a little bit in the direction of law enforcement.
Thank you. And so there you have it. Whether you're conservative, middle of the road, or liberal, whether you're law and order oriented or not, there is probably something in this set of new standards that you will like. There will probably be just as much that you won't like. Then there's the chance that you may not have the opportunity to like or dislike. After all, these rules are going to be studied at the convention in Austin later this month. Then it's a decision of whether or not they will be adopted on a trial basis in the state of Texas. Trial. That's the next word, because the first time these new standards, if adopted, are used, you can bet there will be a test case. And the outcome of that, only time will tell. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Of course, we're speaking of one of the standards which has not yet been approved by the American Bar Association House of Delegates. There may be changes in the standards before they are approved. I can say that in general, and I believe within the bounds of the decisions of the Supreme Court, these standards would permit a carefully regulated use of electronic surveillance in law enforcement work.
We must be looking ahead. We picked the airport that will be so important to Dallas, which is still years away, but we must be planning now the full utilization of that airport and its full import to the city of Dallas. That's one example, but there are others. As of today, have not even been in the chamber office yet. This has come about rather quickly, and I will withhold judgment until such time as I actually take over and go to work there and study, as has been pointed out, the programs and the staff of the chamber and figure where we go from there, dependent upon the objectives that the Chamber has set or will set for its work here in the city.
Well, if you looked at it open and shut politically, you'd say that a California company should win any new contract because the president's from California. But it isn't that simple. The Pentagon and the White House have pretty much kept out of the new contracts. The F-15 was decided not on politics, but on cost and technical merit. Now, with the B-1 contract, economics may become a factor because North American Rockwell, one of the two other competitors with General Dynamics, is dying. Even Boeing's in trouble. So it may be a split award, I think. Both two companies, one company may be prime, but the other company, say North American or whoever, may get more than half the work of subcontracting. It's the last big contract coming up in the military for aircraft for 5 or 6 or 7 years. And
you don't think General Dynamics is going to get a big bite of that?
Well, let me put it this way. I'd be surprised after all the controversy and the clamor if they did get it.
Do you feel frustrated now?
Yes, sure do. It's hard to raise the money to pay for a lawyer to take it into district court, but the board is willing to try to work something out also, so maybe we can get some help from them.
You're going to a great amount of expense, if no more than traveling downtown to see the board. Do you really think this is worth it for your children?
I certainly do.
Nothing's really been decided. The fact is that there is about 100 students that live across the street from a school that they can't go to, and there is 2 independent school districts, Irving and Grand Prairie, who can't see eye to eye on how to solve the problem. The county board has jumped in and decided to consciously make an effort to solve the problem. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Jess Brown in Dallas.